Hey, this is Paul from Guitar World, and today we are in parts unknown to do a before and after with my personal Charvel SoCal guitar. And I'm also here with Adam from FloydUpgrades.com to mod out my guitar to make it sound bigger and better. So here's my guitar, totally stock right now, on a clean sound, so you can hear the difference for later. Also, here's my guitar stock on a dirty, distorted channel. Let's take a listen.
Now we're going to replace Paul's stock Floyd Rose 37mm block with the brass big block L shape. When I take saddles off of a bridge before I'm going to take the bridge apart and set it up, I take a Sharpie sometimes and I kind of mark close to where my intonation is going to be, or I make a little cheat sheet. Like if you look right here on my piece of tape here, see the pictures of the holes, and then I draw these little stupid lines so it gets me close. I'm still going to re-intonate the guitar, but I want to get close. I just use it as a guide of where the saddles were in reference to the screws. And what I do is, this is the screw. See where the edge of the saddle is in reference to that screw? It's past the screw. So I'm going to just make a little cheat sheet mark past the screw. This one goes a little bit past that one. This is a good reference point. I'm still going to intonate the guitar either way. I just want to get close, so I'm not going back and forth, back and forth. People are scared to death to intonate the Floyd. And I'm going to show you how to make it easy. And it's not as threatening as you would think. So you can make a little cheat sheet to kind of get your reference point back. You can sometimes put a little dot on your saddle and wipe them off. That's a good point. But definitely make it easier on yourself. The first thing I'm going to do is loosen the strings. Don't mind my messy bench. Keep everything in a nice little row. Put it right back on. Okay, I've removed the strings, the blocks, and the locking screws. I'm going to flip the guitar over. I'm going to pop the springs off. Pull straight up on the hook, and the bridge will come right off. When you take the saddles off, keep the saddles in order because the saddles are in height increments. So obviously your two E saddles are lower, then the A and the B go up, and the D and the G are the highest. First I removed the locking screw, the string lock screw, which is the long screw that comes in from the back. I took the string lock insert block, which resides inside the saddle, out. I loosened the saddle mounting screw, which holds the saddles to the base plate of the body. Then, once I loosen them, I remove the saddles, keep them in order, and that's what you're left with. These three screws are the block mounting screws. I'm going to loosen the three block mounting screws. Once you get the block mounting screws out, block will come off. There's the string tension plate, which is here. There's also a little shim that sits between the block and the bridge. Personally, I take these out. I don't leave them in. I think it's a tone sucker. It's a piece of cheap metal. The big block is almost twice the size, almost twice the weight, more mass. Mass equals tone, and it just gives it a rounder, fuller, longer, sustaining tone than the original stock block. Here's how I put the bridge back together. I'm going to use the one screw almost as my reference point to put everything together. So I put the one screw in the middle. I put the tension plate back onto the screw. Then I'm going to take the big block and just get it started on the threads. Once it's started, you want the spring holes to be towards the front of the bridge. So when you put your springs back on, you have room for them to go on. Put screws 2 and 3 back in. So with the big block installed on the bridge, I'm ready to put the bridge back together and put it back into the guitar. And you can do these one at a time, or you can just kind of drop all 6 right back in. Saddles are in, they're not locked down yet. I'm going to put the string lock screws back in. I'm going to get it close to my intonation cheat sheet, but I don't want to lock them down before I put the string lock screws back in yet, because they might be crooked if you have it cocked off a little bit and locked down. So I want the string lock screw is going to act as a guide to keeping the saddle straight. So I've got the string lock screws back in place. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to lock the saddles down kind of back to where they were from my cheat sheet. So I'm just going to kind of use my cheat sheet as a guide and find where his saddles were. You can also use the indent marks that were in the saddle, should get you pretty close. We're still going to intonate the bridge when it's done, but some of these are going to be right on. Saddles are locked down. Now we're going to put the bridge back on the guitar. The way I get the bridge back on without it, it's kind of like an awkward moment, and don't panic. Get the bridge right onto the posts where it normally sits, kind of hold it there. Turn the guitar upside down. Put it down flat, so it's where it needs to be. I'm going to reconnect his springs. If you can't stretch the springs out by hand, you can move the claw a little bit closer and then pull the claw back. I'm going to add a little bit of tension to the springs because these holes sit a little bit closer to the claw than the original. Bridge is back on, right where we found it. Next, I'm going to put the string lock insert blocks back in to the saddles. There is a small hole that the string lock screw pushes into. So you want the hole facing the string lock screw. In, ready to be restrung. So we're going to do a string change for Paul as well while we're at it. The way I like to put strings on a Floyd, I like to run them backwards. I put the ball end up at the headstock. So I thread it through the tuner. With the ball end at the headstock, I kind of just hold it above the bridge and I clip it off right around the fine tuner. Hand tighten the string lock screw until it catches the string. Take your wrench, give it a good cranking. And repeat 6 times. Okay, so Paul's new strings are on his guitar, and before we do anything, we're going to stretch them out really good. Everyone has a different method for stretching strings. These aren't tuned at all. Just kind of get in the neighborhood. And the way I like to do it is just hold it down with your left hand, give it a yank, then work your way across all 6. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to intonate the saddles. You want to tune the string open. In this case, to E flat. You're going to hit the 12th fret harmonic, then you're going to fret the note at the 12th fret. If the reading of the fretted note is sharper than the harmonic, you move the saddle back. If the fretted note is flatter than the harmonic, you move the saddle closer to the nut. And the way I kind of remember that is by using your tuner. You know, if it's sharper, it goes away. If it's flatter, you move it towards the nut. The fretted note on the D string was a little sharper than the harmonic note. So now we have to make a saddle adjustment. We're going to take the tension off of the D string. Loosen the saddle at the saddle mounting screw. Slide it back a hair. Tighten the saddle back down. Bring the string back up to pitch. Harmonic, fretted note, dead on. There's your intonation. Repeat that 6 times. Obviously, you can see you could intonate the entire bridge in 5 minutes.
Okay, now that I have my guitar back and now it's been upgraded with the brass big block from floydupgrades.com, let's take a quick listen to what I have on a clean channel right now to hear what it sounds like. Good. So as you just heard, the brass big block on this guitar made a huge tone difference. Already my guitar sounds louder, fuller, and actually warmer considering it's an all maple neck guitar. So it's pretty fantastic even on a clean sound. Now let's hear it on a dirty sound. So as you just heard, by doing this simple modification to your Floyd Rose equipped guitar, it eliminates all the tone sucking and thinness inherent in a Floyd Rose. As you just heard, my guitar already sounds bigger, fuller, and better. Now keep in mind that there's also a titanium big block, and the one I have here is just the brass, which adds that warmness to it. But a titanium set gives you a whole bunch of different tones, which you'll probably hear at a later date. But for now, if you really want to make your guitar sound great, definitely check floydupgrades.com.